Hey there, I'm Ari from the Tech Buyers Guru, and in this video, I'm going to be going over all the parts you should be buying if you want to build yourself a gaming PC for $1,250. Now, I call this my quiet gaming PC because it starts with this incredibly quiet case from Be Quiet. It's the Pure Base 500. I actually named this the best case of 2019, and it's not just because it's a silent running case, it's because it's a really well-designed case and comes in at a fantastic price. It starts at $70 for the standard black with a black steel side panel. Then you can get into the custom colors like the gray and white that cost an extra $10, and then also the tempered glass costs an extra $10 as well. But even at a maximum of $90 for this model right here, it's a fantastic deal. That's because it comes with two 140 millimeter fans, which are much quieter than the standard 120 millimeter fans you get in cases at this price point. And second of all, you actually get two top panels. Let me show you what they are. First, you have a mesh panel if you want to go for maximum airflow. And then there's the acoustically padded panel if you want to go for maximum silence. The other thing I like about this case is it's got a great internal layout for modern PCs. It doesn't have racks and racks of hard drive trays, which you don't need. It has great SSD mounting options, and it's really easy to build in because it has a lot of space for cabling, for power supplies, and for large video cards and coolers. It's really an all-around great package at a maximum of $90. One thing I should say is that the availability on Amazon is extremely limited. You can only get the white model with the steel side panel, but I'll post links down below to alternative vendors that have the other colors like this graphite color with tempered glass side panel. Now, in terms of the CPU, there's really only one model to consider. It's the Ryzen 5 3600 from AMD. It's a fantastic CPU, comes in at $175 now. It's actually discounted from its original price of $200. You do get a reference cooler in the box, although I'm recommending you go with the Arctic Freezer 34. It's a tower cooler that will provide even lower noise levels and lower temperatures, which actually allows for slightly higher boost on the Ryzen 5 3600. Now, in terms of the motherboard, I recommend MSI. I'm currently running an X570 board in my AMD test system, but I actually recommend their B450 Max line because it's so affordable and guarantees you compatibility with the Ryzen 3000 series of processors. The Max line was released at the same time as those processors with the firmware on board to make sure that you didn't have to deal with the concerns of an older B450 board not booting that Ryzen 3000 series processor. So again, go for the B450 Max from MSI. It comes in around $100. In terms of video card, I recommend the Sapphire Radeon RX 5700 XT 8GB Pulse. Now that's a mouthful, but let me tell you why I recommend this specific processor. First of all, Sapphire is the premier partner of AMD. There's no question about it. If you're going to get an AMD GPU, you really want to start looking at Sapphire first and then look at what the other competitors have out there. But Sapphire is an exclusive AMD partner, and they've worked really hard with AMD for many, many years to create the best coolers for AMD GPUs. The other reason is that the Pulse comes in at a really good price, right around $400. You're not paying extra for coolers that you don't need. A lot of the people out there are coming up with coolers that cost an extra $50, and frankly, they don't do that much for this GPU. You don't need a huge cooler, you just need a good cooler, and that's what you get with the Pulse. In terms of RAM, I recommend either Corsair or Crucial. I'm running Corsair in my system because I love their RGB RAM. This Vengeance Pro stuff is the most beautiful RAM on the market, but it does cost about $20 more to get the RGB effects at any given speed. So if you want to save some money, their competitor Crucial actually has a new line of ballistics RAM, which is incredibly cheap, currently under $75 for 16 gigabytes of DDR4, $3,200. So that's what I recommend if you want to go without RGB and save that 20 bucks. Now, in terms of the SSD, I do have some bad news for you. SSD prices are going up and availability is going down. I've seen some of the most popular SSDs on the market vanish from retail shelves, and that is because the RAM manufacturers, or I should say NAND manufacturers, are actually cutting supply and raising prices. So all those most affordable SSDs that have become so popular over the past year are vanishing as NAND prices go up. Luckily, Sabrent still has a value play in its Rocket Q line of QLC-based SSDs. Their 1TB model is $120, and it has that PCI interface for really high throughput. I really recommend you go with a PCI drive, given that this is the same price as most SATA drives at this point. Just keep in mind the price will be going up, so grab it now if you want to get it for $120. In terms of the power supply, I highly recommend a compact modular model. Now, I'm using a Silverstone 850 watt platinum model in my system, but you can actually save some bucks by going with Seasonic, which has a similarly sized, actually exactly the same size, 140 millimeter length, gold rated model at 550 watts. It's plenty of power for a system like this, comes in at around $100. The last thing on the build list is an OS, and I recommend Windows 10 Home. One thing to note is that Windows 10 Home on USB has sort of vanished from store shelves, and I see this happen every 6 months when Microsoft is about to release a new version of Windows. It does this every spring and fall. It's just what they call a major update, which means they actually do have to send out new USB drives to all the retailers. It doesn't mean Windows 10 is going to become Windows 11 or that Windows 10 is obsolete. So your best option right now for getting Windows 10 is to get the downloadable version. It actually saves about $10 versus a USB version. You just have to make sure you have an 8GB or greater USB stick available to load that image onto and then get onto your new system. So that wraps up this build. If you have any questions, please post them down below. I'll be sure to answer them. If you liked the video, of course, please do like and subscribe. That really helps me out, and I will catch you next time.